Hi. So I've been playing Ooblets a lot lately. Look at this thing! See him face! Have joy. This game is seriously great. It's like part farm management in a village living a la Stardew Valley kind of setting. And you get a shop to sell some of your stuff at, but there's all these little dudes called Ooblets. And you find them out and about, and you battle them, you beat them into submission, and then compliment them until they shoot out their seed. And then you can plant that seed and get a new one for your army, who can then help out at your farm. Oh, and by battle, I mean dance battle, through a system of cards, both generic cards in your deck, and the unique ones that each Ooblet adds. It's definitely a game I'd recommend if you aren't the type to get annoyed by, like, I don't know, Adventure Time type humor and speech mannerisms. Everybody's talking in, like, Zoomer baby speak. But there's also a big government conspiracy ran by a megacorp, so well, let's do what I love to do. I'm going to show you every Ooblet in the game and tell you what they are and why they be. We'll start with the Badgetown Ooblets, the biggest group because Badgetown is where you be. It is the default location. We start with Bibbin, a belly button gibbon with some baboon elements, and rubber boots. That's 3 B's, like Bibbin, rubber boots. Bittle is my favorite starter. It's like a little beetle that is a combative, aggressive dancer. A battle-loving little beetle? Bittle, just like a Hercules beetle. They're little and battle. Clomper, possibly my favorite overall. A leafy jackalope yeti goat whose aggressive name belies their gentle, simple nature. Sounds kind of like Thumper, the rabbit from Bambi, who acts tough but is actually very sweet. The name also sounds like Lop, like lop-eared rabbits, since Clopper's ears face downwards like lop-eared bunnies. Clomp is also the sound hooved animals make when walking on hard surfaces, which, along with its penchant for stunning other Ooblets with headbutts, points us more into the goat direction. Dumbirb. It's exactly that, a dumb burb. Flightless Ooblets that look like they really should be able to fly. What a bird brain, like how dodo birds are flightless and often portrayed as stupid. Chickens too. Fleeble, a cute little mushroom dude that is timid or reserved, and its name sounds like feeble, which means lacking in strength, mentally or physically. It's just a thin little mushroom. Isopud is an isopod that has a lethargic appearance, but that's only because they have to expend so much energy on having so many arms. It's like a couch potato, aka a spud. Jama is like a generic monster wearing cute teddy bear pajamas. Jama is also the perfect name for a creature in the game all about dancing because it's just jamming out to some tunes. Lump stump. It's a lump. It's a stump. It's got ears or horns. Scientists don't know which. Much like how it doesn't look more like a stump than it does like a lump. Kind of like a hula or tribal dancer, I suppose. Moogie is a flightless Ooblet. Most Ooblets are flightless, but it just seemed more pertinent to mention it in regards to Moogie. It's like a generic city bird with an acorn shape, a pigeon, a magpie. Also slightly related, but a moog, which is actually pronounced moog, like Vogue, is another word for an analog synthesizer, named after Dr. Moog, who invented them. It's worth mentioning because analog synthesizers, it's the music synthesizers and dance battles. I mean, listen to this. Love that. Nuppo have been observed to act rapscalliously in their native environments as well as important social functions. A rapscallion of a radish. Nuppo is like nuh-uh and uh-oh because it's grumpy and rebellious. Oogum. Unga bunga oog oog, caveman, and also have natural head tufting and glum expressions that indicate an adolescent phase, but are assuredly coincidental. Gum sounds like glum, and that could be the expression, it's the expressing. But tree gum is also a tree part, and it also looks like a blob of gum, especially in its gleamy version. Petula is a petulant and prim petunia-like flower that is especially good in dances that have warm-ups, much like the Zumba-loving waspy moms and grandmas that have names like Petunia and Primrose, and love to wear wide-rimmed hats like the flower on Petula's head. The references to that stereotype are furthered in the dance moves with names such as Bike Shed Cred and Design by Committee. This flower is also part of the PTA, and there's nothing you or your dry gluten-free cookies can do about it. Blob. A blobby, squat plant bulb that are semi-aquatic, which makes their glowy antenna very reminiscent of an anglerfish's lure. Also, a plumb bob is a weight, usually with a pointed tip on the bottom, suspended from a string, kinda just like it. Rad lad! Now that is a very rad lad. A rad radish with long, long legs. Shrumbo! Shroom, since it's a mushroom, and it kind of bows and bows. It likes to dance a demambo and build hype for your team. team, like at a limbo party, making big card combos. Side key, a robot-like little guy with a wind-up toy key on its side, hence side key. It also looks kind of like a motorcycle sidecar turned on its side with a radio antenna sticking out of its head. Sputtle, a very nervous-looking potato spud, so nervous he might spittle or melt into a puddle. His abilities are very reckless and could help either your dance team or your opponent's dance team, so there's always that risk. No wonder there's the nerves. Clickyclaws looks like a shuttlecock and popcorn, much like the well-known brand of candied popcorn called Poppycock, and shuttlecock and poppycock kind of have the same timing when you say them out loud. They are a generally belligerent little ooblet and may act aggressively to interlopers. That sounds like a guy who speaks poppycock, which means foolish talk or nonsense. Taterflop, a tater tot of a fluffy bunny found only during the spring event, so its resemblance to both the Easter bunny and an Easter egg make a lot of sense, as does the fact that it looks like it's springing up out of the center of a flower. Tud, a frog-like toad. Tud, like a little dude who helps cheer on the rest of the team. Oniy Honey, despite its name, it's no bunny. Instead, it's a red onion, which have layers. Its personality is sweet, like a caramelized onion, or like honey. Onion, oniy honey. They kind of sound alike at the start. Wurlitzer! At the time of this writing, they are the only ooblets known to be capable of flight, although not a whole lot of flight, as they seem to just hover. So it's an acorn-shaped whirligig, one of those whirling seed pods that, like, maple trees propagate with. Wiggle Whip! A root veggie with more advanced and subtle dance battle techniques. It resembles a rutabaga mixed with a daikon radish, which are a fancy, weeby root? As for the name, it wiggles to dance, whips its hair back and forth, and it has elements of a turnip in it too. Woodland. Actually a very fun design here, as it's both a monkey and a penguin. Do you see it? It also only turns up when it's snowy, like a penguin, and it waddles. It's waddling. It's woodland. Xanaboo. I love this guy. Only appears around Halloween, and only at nighttime. A cute little ghostly cactus with haunting eyes. Boo! And Xanadu is an idyllic utopia, perhaps like the afterlife in many belief systems. It could also be named after Xanth, which is a prefix meaning yellow. No, that doesn't help. One of its moves has a 50% chance of shrinking the player's head and making their eyes bulge for 24 in-game hours, just like Xanaboo's eyes. And now we begin traveling outside the city. First stop, Mamoonia, where one can find Bristlebud. Honestly, I love this one. A bristly cactus-like ooblet with cute little pigtails and buds blooming on it. And despite the bristles, it's friendlier than it seems, meaning bud in the name has a double meaning. Derble is just adorable. Looks kind of like a Christmas cactus flower and kind of derpy. Derble. But also a derby is this kind of bowler hat. It's kind of like it's wearing one, but also all of its signature moves are slow to activate. There's a warm-up period. This ooblet likes to take its time and dawdle around. Dawdle, Derble, that's a stretch. Firmo, a robot with firmware, and it sees in mono because it only has one eye. It also kind of resembles a traffic light, so it's firm in telling you to stop or go. The three colors it comes in are even the three traffic light colors: red, yellow, and blue. Now green is more common in the US, but several countries use blue instead as a more colorblind friendly alternative. Frip. Flower-like, kinda, with an antenna tip that supposedly changes color in accordance with the proximal obvilox, which only happens every 281,000 years. Very alien-like. Maybe that's why it's named weirdly and has the antenna. Hermble looks like a balding dad that's also a bird. Hermbles try really hard, like all good dads do. Also, it sounds a lot like humble, which I suppose it is, because it's kind of a lame, middle-aged dad. It does very dad-like things like the hokey pokey and making a very mild salsa. Its moves in general just kill the hype. It's like, dude, stop, you're not cool. And the name also sounds like a lot of generic, very dad-like names like Herman, Herbert, Herb. This thing's a humble Herman. Traveling now to Nullwhere, we get Chickadingding, which sounds a lot like Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, or Ding Ding Ding. It's described as stolid, but not particularly spooky. Stolid means impressive and not very intelligent. So, it's a dingaling. Also very chicken-like. And being found in the spooky zone, it may be based on the idea that chicken bodies are able to still run around and survive a little bit after you cut the heads off. It just has a mask covering the neck hole. Glanter. Cute, spoopy little dude! I love the nightcap aesthetic. Their shyness is sometimes mistaken for creepiness when explorers see them peeking out from behind tall reeds in the dark. They take a glance at you, and also somewhat resemble spooky lanterns like jack-o'-lanterns or various lantern yokai. Gloopy Longlegs is like those spooky daddy longlegs spiders, except it's a brain encased in gloopy goop with long legs. It's kind of like a Toadstool. Elixir, a walking, dancing potion bottle, aka an elixir. It's all about applying buffs and helping hands to your team and toxic nerfs to your opponent's team, which is very fitting of a potion or poison bottle. Marshling, a cute little mossy marshy monster, like a little swamp fairy. Nom nom. Looks kind of like a raving rabbit was a cat ghost instead of a rabbit. And with a mouth that big, it can surely nom 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 on whatever it wants. Scuffalo are like an oobletified furry bones plush, and bring a pastel flair to the often dreary atmosphere of Nullwhere. Actually, that might also reference the furry bones things. They add a touch of color to an otherwise very gothic/emo display. It's kind of like scene kids' favorite stuffed animal. The scuff in its name could also be like scuffed knees, since one of its moves is just tripping an opponent, or how it looks like it fell over and scuffed its entire front half off. But the whole name could also just be a shortening of Skullfellow. Snurfler, a blobular Cthulhu-like little guy who is really good at snurfling out gembers. So it's also kind of like a truffle hunting pig. Literally, all of its signature moves involve finding gembers, which are just like gemstones that are also embers out and about. Oh yeah, absolutely everything in this game is a portmanteau. Like, every plant, every rock, everything is great. And now that I think about it, I think Snurfler reminds me more of Zoidberg than Cthulhu. Now we travel to Port Forward and find Angkze. Oh, that's a bunch of letters. Angkze? Angkze? Probably just Angkze. It's a blobfish-like, anglerfish-like, semi-aquatic ooblet that appears to be very sad and anxious. It can't even type or write its name without a dozen typos. I'm anxious. I'm anxious. Gubwee, a kelp-like little weirdo whose arms also sort of resemble tadpole tails, which is perhaps why its facial features have been observed to evolve and devolve at various times. Like tadpoles gaining legs and losing the tail over time, Gub also sounds like Glub Glub because it's semi-aquatic, and some of its signature dance moves reference its kelp-like nature. And it's small, so it's wee. Now Goalie Splot are some weird little dudes, and no one can figure it out. Is it a fungus? A jelly? A melon? We just don't know. But a goalie is a trench formed by rainwater, and a spot or splotch is a stain. So perhaps they stain goalies when planted. Legsy, a two-legged fish and possibly one of the silliest looking things I've seen in my entire life, especially the one that the mayor owns. It's like an Ooblets Tiktaalik, which was simply a fish with legs. A leggy fish. Legsy. Quabbo is some kind of axolotl and are inquisitive yet unopinionated. Which, what? Like, it's full of so many questions, but then it doesn't care once you've told it the answers? I mean, that makes sense, I guess, when you look at it. Like, look at the poor things. No thoughts, head empty. But at least the name could come from Quay, since that's kind of where axolotls live. And then squab can mean short and fat, and gobbo is a cute and common corruption of goblin, which also tend to be green. Put it all together, Quabbo! Now we travel to Pantsabear Hill, where only one type of ooblet lives, and it's Pantsabear. And Pantsabear is its own thing. So, there is only one step, and it is Pantsabear. It's a horned bear Bigfoot bison thing that wears pants and a headband, and the unusual and gleamy ones have unpatterned pants. I probably should have mentioned this a long time ago, but there are shiny variants of various rarities, unusual and gleamy. Now, the Oobtrotter Ooblets are the ooblets all on vacation. They are found at various ephemeral ooblet vacation spots all around the world and are only accessible from time to time. There's Dooziedug. A doozy is something outstanding or unique of its kind. Yeah, Dooziedug is definitely that. It's like a mole dog with really weird dance moves. And oh hey, both of those animals like to have dug in the ground. Bibbin has so much greebling. A strange, duckish, babushka-looking plant thing. They are rare ooblets with mediocre moves. Sorry, it's true. Maybe it's supposed to be a chicken and therefore is supposed to be both Baba Yaga and Baba Yaga's house? Old fairy tale duo? Maybe the gre refers to grandma and the bun is like baking to lure you in? Especially given that its signature move is named Just the Taste, and its head does resemble a bun, just like a bao bun. Gumple, another interesting and unique ooblet. It's got long, wiggly, silly arms, and it resembles a gum tree, which are mostly in the eucalyptus family. Each time you use its signature move, Silly Arms, your player's arms will wiggle at their sides for an entire in-game day, as if they were gummy themselves. It's a completely useless thing, does not help you in the battles at all, but boy is it silly. Kingwa, a kingly koala. The name combines king and the wa in koala. Its crown appears to be a big acorn, and its moves are rather double-edged, like how rulers have to balance ruling with an iron fist and being diplomatic, both with their own people and with foreign powers, and how sometimes their decisions come to bite them in the butt. Tamlin are cute little fey creatures whose dance moves are described as whimsical and cause mischievous things to happen, such as one of its signature moves called Babify, which shrinks the player small for an entire day. At least the name is easy. Tamlin is named after Tam Lin, a very famous man-turned-fairy from a ballad in the Scottish borders, and thus variations on his name, most commonly Tamlin, finds itself as a decently common name for male fae in many a modern fantasy story. And while I won't get into the details, if you look at Tamlin's signature dance moves and compare them to the Fairy Queen's spells in the original story, yeah, they work. Now onwards to the Tippy Top Mountain, where we will find Gopslop, a rocky, potatoey, muddy cutie. It's covered in muddy, sloppy goop Gopslop, and toots around the mountain. IDK if that means toots as in fiddle farts, or toots as in literal farts, but yes. Or heck, maybe both, given this game's sense of humor. Much slop, very goop. Wow, so firm. Rock stack is a stack of rocks. Pretty self-explanatory, and you can only find them by breaking open rocks in the mountains. They were thought to be imaginary mythical folklore ooblets, but turned out to be real. Which brings to mind the brownie from Scots legend, a small fey creature typically depicted as brown, being associated with the hearth and doing chores or ruining chores, and were solitary creatures that avoided being seen, and they too like to live in nearby caves or individual nearby rocks, similar to Rockstack hiding in rocks, and most hearths are made of rocks, even, but maybe I'm just pulling at strings. Lastly, it's Bunglebee. It's the only ooblet to be found in the Bunglebee mines, and you guessed it, it's a bumblebee, except it bungles around instead of bumbles around. Bumblebees too were thought to be just a myth or fairy tale until very recently, probably because they're only found in these mines, and also because... What? Oh, right, because plot. Go play this game. It's very good, very chill, very comfy times, and old enough now that it's frequently on sale. Which ones are your favorite? Let me know down below. And what creature collector monster tamer type game should I cover next? Thanks for watching.